now I'm going to switch over and introduce our presenter. And I'm just going to read through a couple points from his bio. Imran Saidi is a student pursuing a health services administration degree at CUNY School of Professional Services Studies. He's graduating on May 25th, 2023. Do I hear a round of applause? Yay, congratulations. He's an urban male scholar and serves as a mentor in the Black Male Initiative and the Ernest Malveaux Leadership Academy. He participated in the Global Solution Challenge with students from Jordan through the International Research and Exchange Board, IREX. In the IREX Global Solution Challenge, he served as the business concept coordinator for Team CUNY. And his team developed a business concept called Gray Solar. This business concept was developed by students from the Ernesto Malveaux Leadership Academy of the City University of New York and the Al-Bakwe Applied University in Jordan. The business concept, the gray water treatment system, will support Jordanian and American citizens who live in rural areas, giving them access to sustainable and clean water. Imran represented CUNY along with his counterpart from Jordan at the virtual Global Challenge Expo, and Team Gray Solar won third place. Another round of applause. As a result, each member of his team is moving into the next phase, which is the free training on the area of interest by the International Research and Exchange Board. Imran works for New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation as Supervising Training and Development Associate. Please welcome Imran Saidi, who will present work stress and mental health.
Thank you very much, Nikki, for the introduction. And welcome everybody to this conference, the Leadership Conference. As Nikki said, I'm going to present on work stress and mental health. And can you share the PowerPoint? Okay.
We have just a little bit of technical difficulties at the moment, so we're asking someone to share the PowerPoint for us. So just hang tight. There we go.
All right. Thank you very much, tech support. So, work stress and mental health, that's the topic that I'm gonna be discussing. What is work stress? Most of us who are working must have experienced a stress in one way or the other regarding our work. According to CDC, Center for Disease Control, job stress can be defined as harmful physical and emotional response that occur when the requirements of the job do not match the capabilities, resources, or needs of the worker. Job stress can lead to poor health and even injury. The concept of job stress is often confused with challenge, but these concepts are not the same. Most institutions offered training or offered some guides for their staff members to benefit when it comes to work-related stress. New York City Health and Hospital, for example, developed what is called H3. Is called the Healing Healers. Helping Healers Heal, sorry. The H3 is Helping Healers Heal. In there, They help their staff members. Full disclosure, I work for New York City Health and Hospital. So stress happens to everyone every day. General response to stressful work problems or moving, etc. Most people develop coping mechanisms, tools to get us through the experience. Distress. Sometimes life is harder than we expected. We experience deep loss, death of a parent or friend, or a life change that could be divorce or a health condition. They require additional support. Some people seek counseling or spiritual guidelines to learn additional coping skill or meditation. Disorder. Mental disorder are also known as mental illness or psychiatric disorders, which can be PTSD, depression, substance use disorder. Mental disorders can brain disorders too. Assessed and treated by behavioral health clinician with a variety of medications as needed. Next slide. Work stress. It is true that we all need a job to survive in this depressing world. However, in pursuing our career goals, we must never forget to take care of ourselves. Self-care is very important. We must never forget about that. Believe it or not, job stress poses a threat to the health of a worker and in turn to the health of an organization. As the saying goes, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. I want to add that a healthy workforce is a productive workforce. Conditions that can cause stress to workers: unrealistic deadlines, low level of support from supervisors, lack of worker involvement in decision-making. Those are stressors that can cause a stressful working environment for anybody. If you have a deadline that is unrealistic, you're gonna rush through and you're not gonna finish it. The end product will not be very good. If you have a low level of support, anything we do, you need support from your supervisors. If you lack that support, it can put a lot of stress on you as an employee, and lack of involvement in decision-making. In order to empower an employee, it's always important to involve them in decision-making process. It is true that we all need a job. All right, next slide. Job stress has become a common and costly problem in American workforce, leaving few workers untouched. For example, the following studies have revealed that 1/4 of every employees view their jobs as the #1 stressor in their lives, according to Northwestern National Life. Also, 3/4 of employees believe the worker has more on-the-job stress than a generation ago. That's a big jump, according to Princeton Survey Research Associates. Problems at work are more strongly associated with health complaints than any other life stressors, more so than even financial problems or family problems, according to St. Paul Fire and Marine Company. Next slide. We have some sample surveys. What workers say about stress on the job. The survey by Northwestern National Life shows that 40% of the workers who report their job is very or extremely stressful. A survey by the Families and Workers Institute shows that 26% of workers report that they often or very often burn out or stressed by their work. 29% of workers surveyed by the Yale University shows that the percentage of workers who report they feel quite a bit or extremely stressed at work. That's 29%. So you can see that stress has a lot, work has a lot to do with some stress that people face in the environment, work environment that we live now. Next slide. What are the causes of job stress? According to the school of thought, differences in individual characteristics, such as personality and coping style, are most important in predicting whether certain job conditions will result in stress. In other words, what is stressful for one person may not be a problem for another. We all have our individual characteristics. Something that could be stressful to me might not be stressful to someone else. These viewpoints leads to prevention strategies that focus on workers and ways to help them cope with demanding job conditions. Although the importance of individual differences cannot be ignored, scientific evidence suggests that certain working conditions are stressful to most people. Working conditions serves as the key source of job stress, and job redesign can serve as a primary prevention strategy. Next slide. Job conditions that may lead to stress. The design of tasks, heavy workload, frequent rest breaks, long work hours, and shift work, hectic and routine tasks that have little inherent meaning, do not utilize worker skills, and provide little sense of control. Example, if you work to the point of exhaustion, you may be tied to the computer, allowing little room for flexibility, self-initiative, or rest, because you're gonna spend most of your time glued to your computer. Management style, lack of participation by workers in decision-making, poor communication in the organization, lack of family-friendly policies can also put a stress on an employee. For example, when you have a boss whose approval is needed for everything, let's say somebody who's micromanaging, and when your company is insensitive to your family needs, it's important sometimes as managers to be flexible to the needs of their employees. Sometimes conditions can change. An employee can have a family emergency, or there can be a change in family dynamics of your employee. It's important to be very supportive to your employees during those times. If it means for you to adjust their time, it's important to give them time to cope with their situation, at the same time allowing them some flexibility at work. Interpersonal relationship, post-social environment and lack of support or help from co-workers and supervisors. For example, physical isolation reduces your opportunities to interact with other workers or receive help from them. If they isolate you at work and you are not interacting with co-workers as you're supposed to be, as you're supposed to do, it can also add stress to your work. So it's always important to develop an interpersonal relationship at work that will help you to reduce any stressful working environment. Next. Work roles, conflicting on or uncertain job expectation, too much responsibility, too many hats to wear. It's very important as an employee as a worker to know when to say no, okay? If you know that you have a lot of responsibilities that you cannot carry, it's always important to tell your supervisor or to ask for help, because you cannot do it all by yourself. At the end of the day, it's gonna create a lot of stress on you, and you might not be able to accomplish the work accurately. For example, when you are in a difficult situation of trying to satisfy both the customer's need and the company's expectation, it's always important to ask for help. Career concerns. That happens to almost everybody at work. We all wanted to grow at work. Everybody is interested in growing up. You don't want to stay at the same place doing the same thing over and over. Upward mobility is always important at work, but at the same time, we must not do it in such a way that it's going to have an effect on our mental well-being. Job insecurity and lack of opportunity for growth, advancement, or promotion. Rapid changes for which workers are unprepared for. For example, when employees are not sure of the direction of their company, their future with the company becomes bleak because they are not sure of what will happen next. So if you are not getting accurate information about the direction of your company, if there are uncertainties about your company, that could put a lot of stress on you as an employee. Okay. Environmental condition. Unpleasant or dangerous physical conditions, such as crowding, noise, air pollution, or ergonomic problems. For example, when an employee is exposed to constant noise at work, that could have a stressful effect on an employee. Okay. If you're working in an environment that is very noisy, it's always important to ask for help. Maybe ask for your office or maybe your cubicle to be moved somewhere that's not going to be very noise polluted. Next slide. Stress sets off an alarm in the brain. So the effects of stress in our health. It sets off an alarm in our brain, which responds by preparing the body for defensive action. Our nervous system is aroused and hormones are released to sharpen the senses, quicken the pulse, deepen respiration, and tense the muscles. The response, which is sometimes called the fight or flight response, is important because it helps us to defend against threatening situation. The response is programmed biologically. Everyone responds in much the same way, regardless of whether the stressful situation is at work or at home. Basically, we all biologically respond to stress almost similarly. Short-lived or infrequent episodes of stress pose little risk. But when stressful situations go unresolved, the body is kept in a constant state of activation, which increases the rate of wear and tear to the biological system. And that wear and tear to our biological system is what brings, if it is not controlled, to some psychological or mental problem. Okay. Ultimately, fatigue or damage results, and the ability of the body to repair and defend itself can become seriously compromised. As a result, the risk of injury or disease escalates because at this level, our body's defense system is so weakened that we are exposed to almost any kind of disease because our body mechanism or our defensive mechanism is weakened. In the past 20 years, many studies have looked at the relationship between job stress and a variety of ailments, mood and sleep disturbances, upset stomach and headache, and disturbed relationship with family and friends are example of stress-related problems that are quick to develop and are commonly seen in these studies. These early signs of job stress are usually easy to recognize, but the effects of job stress on chronic disease are more difficult to see because chronic diseases take a long time to develop and can be influenced by many factors other than stress. Nonetheless, evidence is rapidly accumulating to suggest that stress plays an important role in several types of chronic health problems, especially cardiovascular disease, musculoskeletal disorders, and psychological disorders. So stress has a lot of effect or can cause a lot of disease conditions for us that can be acute or chronic. Next slide. I have the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine. The early warning sign of job stress shows that according to the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine, headache is an early sign of job stress. Sleep disturbances. You go to bed, you cannot sleep, Difficulty in concentrating is an early sign of job stress. Short-tempered. If you have an employee at work and then all of a sudden you see some rapid changes in them, we must all work as a team and give them help. Most workplaces nowadays, especially big companies, they always have helplines for employees. They always have resources to help employees cope with any mental health problem. Upset stomach, job dissatisfaction, low morale. As a supervisor or as an employee, as a co-worker, we must all look for these early signs. If we see it in our co-workers, if you see it in your workforce, please offer help to them. Next slide. Stress, health, and productivity are very related. If you are stressful, it's gonna affect your health, and it will affect your productivity at work. Some employers assume that stressful working conditions are a necessary evil, that companies must turn up the pressure on workers and set aside health concerns to remain productive and profitable in today's economy. This, I don't think is productive for employees. I know a lot of corporations are profit-driven. They concentrate more on making profit because everybody wanna impress their supervisors. Everybody wanna make sure that, oh, my department is doing well. My department is bringing a lot of profit. We are meeting our goals. But in doing that, we must also not compromise the well-being of our employees, because it's important that the well-being of our employees are protected. But research findings challenge this belief. Studies show that stressful working conditions are actually associated with increased absenteeism, tardiness, and intentions by workers to quit their jobs, all of which have a negative effect on the bottom line. So you see, if your ultimate goal is to make profit, at the same time, you don't want to put the well-being of your employees into consideration. In the short run, you might make profit, but in the long run, productivity will go down. And ultimately, when productivity is down, your profit margin will go down. Okay, so these things are interrelated. Recent studies of so-called heavy organizations suggest that policies benefiting workers' health also benefit the bottom line. If you invest into your employees' work, their mental well-being. In turn, it will increase your bottom line. You know, to say, paraphrase, your profit margin will grow up. Okay. A healthy organization is defined as one that has low rate of illness, injury, and disability in its workforce, and is also competitive in the marketplace. NIOSH research has identified organizational characteristics associated with both heavy, low stress work and high level of productivity. Example of these characteristics include the following: recognition of employees for good work performance. Nowadays, a lot of companies are doing this. You might see employee of the month, employee of the year. Okay, you are motivating your workers. You are making the work environment, very friendly for them. They want to stay. Opportunities for career development. Are you doing internal recruitment for your employers or your employees? Actually, do you hire from within? Are you promoting your workers? Are you encouraging them to go to school by offering tuition reimbursement? Those kind of things are very important for the well-being of employees. An organizational culture that value their individual worker. Do you value the work, the input that workers are putting into your work? Those things, any employee and any employer who focuses on those things, the well-being of their employees is usually very, very good. Management actions that are consistent with organizational value. All right. Are you putting your organizational value into practice, or is your organizational value just on paper? Because that's important. If your goal is this, very, very nice and neat, very welcoming, very appetizing on the paper, but in reality, if you are not executing your organizational goal or your organizational value, you are driving employees away, because at the end of the day, they're gonna quit and they will go to your competitor, or they will go somewhere that will value them as a worker. Next slide. According to the data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, workers who must take time off because of stress, anxiety, or a related disorder will be off the job for about 20 days. 20 working days is a lot. That's actually 4 weeks. 4 weeks. If you invest into your employees' well-being, that 4 weeks, productivity will be low in those 4 weeks. Or you might have other employees covering for the employee who is out. And those employees might be burned out. And at the end of the day, the productivity might be low. It might not be very effective. So it's very important to invest into our workforce. By investing into our workforce, we might avoid 20 days of absence from work due to stress. Next slide. How to avoid work stress. These are some techniques. Stress management. Jobs that provide stress management training and an employee assistance program to improve the ability of workers to cope with difficult work situations enjoys productivity. Nearly 1/2 of large companies in the United States provide some type of stress management training for their workforce. Stress management programs teach workers about the nature and sources of stress, the effects of stress on health, and personal skills to reduce stress. For example, time management or relaxation exercise. My job, New York City Health and Hospital Corporation, provide assistance to its employees to manage stress. The program is called H3, Helping Healers Heal. According to New York City Health and Hospital Corporation, Helping Healers Heal, or H3, is the fundamental infrastructure for enhanced wellness programming across all service lines of New York City Health and Hospital Corporation to address emotional and psychological needs of all staff members. Next slide. The H3 is has a holistic wellness programming, has continued to address the emotional and psychological needs of the staff through debriefs, including but not limited to acute reaction to unanticipated and adverse work-related events, reaction to stress, secondary, vicarious, complex, and collective traumatization, as well as compassion fatigue and burnout. I personally benefited from the program. Some of you might remember in January 2022, there was a fire in the Twin Towers apartment in the Bronx that claimed 17 lives. I knew most of the victims or their children because majority of the victims were Gambian immigrants. I'm a Gambian by birth. I and the organization I belong to, Gambia, the Gambia Network, the Gambia American Network, GAN, we mentor most of the kids. Their loss seriously affected me. Most of the kids who died there, or most of the parents, I know most of the parents or their kids. For the first time in my life, I went to bed and I cannot sleep. The H3 program at my job helped me to cope with the tragedy. Initially, the H3 program at New York City Health and Hospital only focused on events such as medication error, patient expiration, but with the arrival of COVID-19, the program saw the need to become more proactive and preventative, reaching out to staff members, establishing relationships, and creating safe spaces to decompress and share personal and professional experience. Next slide. The goal of the H3 is to provide staff across the system the opportunity to discuss difficult and rarely converse about experience that employees faces on a daily basis, allowing them to bring their entire selves to work and feel comfortable to doing so. H3 delivers wellness programming to staff, focusing on the 8 dimensions of wellness. Those 8 dimensions are spiritual, emotional, physical, social, occupational, environmental, financial, and intellectual, with the belief that with a healthier and more engaged staff, New York City Health and Hospital as an institution will achieve better satisfaction and care for their patients. Next slide. How to prevent job stress. Ensure that the workload is in line with the workers' capabilities and resources. Design jobs to provide meaning, stimulation, and opportunities for workers to use their skills. Clearly define workers' role and responsibilities. This is very important. If you have a defined roles and responsibilities, it makes your work very easy because you know what is in your term of reference, what you're supposed to do. Give workers opportunities to participate in decision-making and actions affecting their jobs. It's very important to involve your employees in the decision-making because they are the ones doing the job. So having them making the decision in the work that they do is very vital. Improve communications, reduces uncertainty about career development and future employment prospect. Communication is very important. It's one of the 7 C's of leadership. Communication is very, very vital. We must communicate clearly to our employees. It will reduce stress to your workers. Provide opportunities for social interaction among workers. Establish work schedules that are compatible with demands and responsibilities outside the job. This is according to American psychologists. Next. Building general awareness about job stress, causes, cost, and control. Securing top management commitment and support for the program. Incorporating employee input and involvement in all phases of the program. And establishing the technical capacity to conduct the program. Example, specialized training for in-house staff or use of job stress consultants. These are important. Next. Coping with stress. The stress continuum. It is important to be aware of the stress continuum, normal stress responses, and resilience skills. This is because it enhances our personal ability to cope appropriately. We all respond to stress differently because we're all different. It is useful to learn to recognize the stress response continuum in ourselves and in others, so we can recognize when it is time to reach out for support. Next. Seek support from others. Please, 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 let us always ask for help when we need help. I know at work, maybe you don't trust everybody, you don't want your personal problem out there to everybody. But if you're working at an environment that have employee support system and is confidential, it's always important to ask for help. You know, it's good for yourself and it's good for your own well-being. Use all available communication methods. Share your thoughts and feelings. Do not keep it to yourself. It's always important sometimes to vent it out, you know, somebody that you trust or to your confidential reporting or your confidential helpline. Improve overall functioning and sleep. Get enough rest by sleeping, which sleep has a positive effect on our mental health. Helps reduce anxiety and depression and improve general sense of well-being. All right. It also helps with weight management. If you manage your weight, sometimes it will also reduce your stress. Reduce the risk of, if you reduce your stress, it will reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, or metabolic syndrome, and some cancer. Next. Right, that's the end of the presentation. Thank you all for your time and listening.
Thank you all for attending the session today. And thank you to our presenter, Imran. I think we all learned a lot from your presentation, and yes, there's the link, the surveys in the link in the chat. Can you everyone please fill it out? And remember, the more you attend our sessions, the more you attend our sessions, the higher the possibility to win one of the prizes at the end of the week. Today's Wednesday, we have sessions Thursday and Friday, and we'll be supportive to everyone, you know, attend the session, stay and learn. Again, thank you very much for your presentation, and I'm going to have to say goodnight to everyone and have a great evening and the rest of the week. And congratulations again on your graduation coming up.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.